This is Groundskeeper Willie. He is the official groundskeeper of Springfield Elementary, also pitching in as janitor, French teacher, and protector of the wee turtles. He has built a rich life for himself at school, with his beloved red tractor, his rustic shack, and his nest egg of retirement grease. Willie has quite the temper, regularly lashing out at the school administration and the children. However, to unwind, he enjoys swimming, wrestling wolves, and amateur videography. Despite these varied interests and his rock-hard abs, Willie is deeply unpopular with the ladies. That is, until reuniting with Maisie, who he marries back in the old country. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he's Scottish. Very, very Scottish. This is the history of Groundskeeper Willie. You know, I was gonna do a Scottish accent there, but I didn't want to push my luck after the last video. Ugh. But seriously, Groundskeeper Willie was so overdue for one of these. This guy has been a staple of Springfield Elementary for 3 decades, mixing it up with both the faculty and the kids. If you want to quickly inject some energy into a school scene, just bring in Willie. What I really want to know with this guy is, how much variation does he have with his jokes? We're going to get a lot of Scotland, a lot of tractors, a lot of fighting today. But how on earth do they keep this guy fresh? How many variations on kilts and bagpipe jokes could there possibly be? As always, let's go back to the beginning to find out. Groundskeeper Willie first appeared in Season 2's Principal Charming, taunting Bart during his grass killer punishment. I love that this is his debut, that this evolutionary dead end of an episode produced such a prolific secondary character. Aside from the slightly higher-pitched voice, Groundskeeper Willie is fully formed right out the gate. He gets dumped on by Bart, put to work by Skinner, and holds a grudge, declaring at the end, "I told you you'd be back." In the DVD commentary, the writers said that they sarcastically waved goodbye to this guy at the time, expecting him to be a one-off. He didn't appear again the rest of the season. However, clearly they changed their minds between production cycles, as he immediately became a recurring character in Season 3. He slaps Edna and tells her to hold it together. He criticizes Homer's digging and hates Lisa's wacky sax. Radio Bart introduces 2 important elements, his tractor and his muscular physique. He shows he can be a useful character in sounding the alarm and providing physical tools to the plot when needed. Separate Vocations shows off his angry side, when he threatens Bart after being arrested for the unforgivable crime of burning leaves. And in Bart the Lover, we hear rumblings about his personal life. Edna says, "I'm not even going to tell you what that guy's into." Oh, you don't have to tell us, Edna. That's what this video series is about. Thus far, Willie's always had that accent, but it's really Season 4 that leaned hard into his Scottish heritage. We get jokes where he's working a haggis booth, is wearing his kilt during parent-teacher conference night, says "back to the lock with you, Nessie" about Selma's tape. He's becoming a more outlandish personality, performing these random maintenance roles with more wit and panache. Not only does he save Bart from a real-life wolf, he commiserates with it afterward and offers a drink. Willie is a gracious winner. Season 4 discovered the joy of pairing him with Skinner, giving him someone to bicker with. In Camp Krusty, he calls him a silk-wearing buttercup behind his back. In I Love Lisa, he blames Skinner for opening the last show with a fire drill, and then channels his inner Scotty, saying he can't water down the orange drink no more. In Whacking Day, he calls him a bath-taking, underwear-wearing lily hugger, and in the end, declares that he will turn in Skinner to the authorities at the first toll booth. We get some romance in this episode too, where Willie declares that he would marry his tractor if it didn't go against God. And then meets this Scottish lass, who finds his swimming pool rat story captivating. As an ignorant Yank, I am going to assume that this is how Scots talk dirty to each other. However, all of this was a mere warm-up for the David Merkin era, in which Willie got his time to shine. This was a very action-packed couple of years for him, that highlighted his aggressiveness and rage. He's telling everyone that he'll kill all of them and burn the town down, not caring that his mic is on. He'll yell at Homer that he didn't sign up for the orange eating class. After dazzling the crowd with his Scottish luxury and his penis, he lashes out at Skinner for using him. He put 17 bullets into his mule for not walking in the mud. Even when teaching French, he's calling them cheese-eating surrender monkeys. I think what's cool about this era is that they started actually featuring Willie, getting him actively involved in plots. Like, he is one of the biggest stars of The Simpsons' 100th episode, with "Grease me up, woman, make way for Willie," and the entire event sequence. This is an absolutely ludicrous premise for a scene, and thank God we have a character like Willie who can execute it. In Treehouse of Horror 5, arguably the best Treehouse of Horror, Willie gets the best joke in the whole thing, getting axed in the back 3 times. I like how this one highlights how Willie's not just a hothead, he can be an ally who provides a bit of exposition. For example, that 4 to 5 is Willie time. In Homer Badman, he actually saves the day in the end. You see, like every Scottish person, he enjoys videotaping couples in cars together. I would criticize this, but I don't want to be culturally insensitive to a country of perverts. Anyway, arguably, Who Shot Mr. Burns wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Willie striking oil in the basement. Although maybe the whole thing is Super Dude's fault. Either way, he totally flies off the handle about not getting his crystal slop bucket and losing his job, threatening to wound that Mr. Smithers. He's also too superstitious to get a job at the cemetery, but I don't know if that is actually true. What is true is that Willie probably didn't shoot Mr. Burns, due to getting arthritis from Space Invaders. He also dazzles the cops with his Scottish luxury and his penis. It seemed that incoming showrunners were keen on featuring this guy, as early in Season 7, he gets one of his most iconic spotlights ever, playing the Freddy Krueger role in Treehouse of Horror 6. Man, he's so amazing in this. The horrifying way Skinner lets him burn, his ominous Latin reading, and the way he kills Martin, "Do not touch Willie." The awesome monster transformations at the climax. Oddly enough, this is basically the last Treehouse of Horror he really gets featured in. They'll occasionally kill him off quickly in memorable ways and whatnot, but for Halloween stuff, Willie shined brightly for 2 seasons and then faded away. Unfortunately, this was true for the rest of the Oakley and Weinstein era, where he only showed up in smaller one-off roles. Like, he totally sits out 22 short films, is one of the only Springfield Elementary folks who doesn't say goodbye, and gets basically nothing as one of Springfield's baggy pants players. This era was more about smaller jokes or putting him to work when the plots need it. He does participate in 2 angry mobs, wanting to harvest the toilet from the Maison Derriere, and to kill the monster, Mr. Burns. Principal Skinner is absolutely awful to Willie during this era. In Much Ado About Nothing, when Willie tries defending Uter, Skinner shoos him away. And in Lisa's Date with Density, he demeans his job right in front of him, and forces him to teach Nelson how Willie waters. No wonder Willie doesn't care about Skinner barricading himself in the school. We get a few key pieces of Groundskeeper Willie lore during this era. 1, that he was once the ugliest man in Glasgow, and was engaged to Sherry Bobbins. 2, he does an amazing rendition of Maniac. And 3, that he lives in a shack. Aww, it's the debut of Willie's shack. Here's where we discover that Willie hated Santa's little helper and ate the mess that he left on the rug. Or something like that. Clearly, the next showrunner, Mike Scully, saw a character who had been wasting away and got old Willie back involved again. Season 9 opened with smaller roles, like getting disrespected in The Principal and the Pauper, yelling at little Bart to get off the grass, and accelerating a soccer riot. But later, he gets key roles in The Joy of Sect and Girly Edition. In the first example, he's part of the resistance against the Movementarians, offering to kidnap, deprogram, and kill, and later calling the Reverend a noodle-armed choir boy. Unfortunately, his interrogation skills have not improved since Season 5. In Girly Edition, he serves as the final antagonist. Earlier in the story, he took Bart's skateboard, and then had his shack creamed in response. So during the ending, he tries getting his revenge by killing Bart. He declares he is temporarily insane right here, but I'm not so sure. Either way, Lisa's powerful rhetoric defeats him. Then, in the Season 10 premiere, Willie makes his triumphant return to the Springfield Elementary vents, fighting it out with Homer over his retirement grease. Willie declares he's from North Kilt Town, but somehow Homer doesn't believe his lies. In general, the Scully era was good about showing different aspects of his personality. It wasn't all manual labor and bagpipe jokes. He tries his hand at stand-up comedy, he goes to a sci-fi convention wearing a Chewbacca shirt, and plays basketball with the boys, showing off his Scottish luxury and penis. Willie seems to relish his job at the school these days, giving a proud thumbs up, or blushing about his cinnamon-tinged sawdust and his whipping skills. Nobody slaps their Willie around during this era, except for Willie at internet cafes. Well, until he finds out that's actually him under that kilt. Willie even gets to travel to Scotland to hunt the Loch Ness Monster. We do briefly meet his parents and hear about the pool table that he was born and raised on. His father still being alive does contradict a couple of episodes, where he said that he was hanged for stealing a pig and his body was thrown into a bog. So we must conclude that Willie is lying to Super Dude's corpse for some reason. Either way, I can feel the love between these three. Really, the only exception to the good times is when Carjacker Willie gets falsely arrested in The Great Money Caper and tries murdering many Simpsons regulars. But other than that attempted killing spree, these were the good times for Willie. However, the party is over for him when Al Jean takes the reins again in season 13. I don't know why there's a tone shift between showrunners for a stereotype like Willie, but the teen years lived up to its name and preferred the more fiery and defiant Willie. Here he is duking it out with his sworn enemy Seamus. In an anthology episode, he shows his pride by capturing a little girl, and in a regular episode, he's flying off the handle at her for big-timing him. He sharpens his knife, declaring that this is the year that Skinner's gonna get it. Or how about his lengthy speech talking about how brothers and sisters are natural enemies, just like Scots and other Scots. Damn Scots, they ruined Scotland. When he loses his screw you money, he says screw you to Skinner anyway. Or in other episodes, he's fighting a donkey, bossing around assistant groundskeeper Skinner, and getting into a war with Ice Age squirrels. Willie is such an aggro maniac now, he literally tries to suck the oxygen out of Moe's lungs. Although, I get why he's so hot-headed, because this era is not very nice to him. How is it that the Scully era, full of jerkassery and pain gags, treated Willie as a king, and then Al Jean comes along and makes him his whipping boy? Let's do a Singin' in the Rain parody. Here comes the acid rain. Now we're doing Field of Dreams. Let's have him catch glass shards on his tongue. Now let's meet his cousin, Gravedigger Billy. Immediate betrayal. Now let's have Willie attend another sci-fi convention. Oh no, he's about to be assaulted. This guy can't even ride a skateboard without repeatedly tumbling down the stairs. He's even punished for trying to use the water fountain, for God's sake. Gone are the days where he's happily unclogging a toilet, now he's laying down in a pile of puke for Fat Tony's kid. In fact, in the season 16 finale, they do an entire opening sequence all about shitting on Willie. For the medieval fair, they make him the village idiot, putting a bunch of gunk on his face and having the kids throw stuff at him. Honestly, I don't blame him for sabotaging the whole thing, because Skinner is just awful to him. In a later episode, Willie tries striking with the kids in solidarity and is immediately fired with loss of pension. I'm so glad that he gets his revenge during the Mutiny on the Bounty parody, because Skinner deserved to be set adrift several times by now. This is officially an anti-Skinner video. They loved sprinkling in the darker elements of Willie's personality during this era. In The Dad Who Knew Too Little, Dexter Colt says that he's the spitting image of the Aberdeen Strangler. In The President Wore Pearls, Chalmers describes him as an escaped mental patient they hired, and later Willie tells them of an Edinburgh coal mine collapse in which no one got out, not even Willie. Later that same season, he runs over a ball, thinking that he shredded another kid. In The Departed, he acts as a double agent, betraying Bart at the climax. Rats within rats. Even when the two are in peril and must work together, Willie suggests jamming the blades with his spine. In other episodes, he's dragging Goofy off to the gas chamber, trying to kill Martin again, or being decapitated and being forced to clean up his blood. It's almost as if they turned Willie into Moe around this time, where he's calling himself a wall-eyed misfit bastard, and bitterly complaining about women pepper spraying him. Now, to be fair to the teen seasons, this is where Willie gets his first full spotlight episode, Season 17's My Fair Laddie. Even this is kind of a Moe-coded story, with Willie getting a full makeover. However, this one puts more emphasis on Willie's values, with him missing his old life after his shack is destroyed and he gets a fancy new job. It puts a positive spin on the character, that he truly loves his humble life. Also, this is his first team up with Lisa. Put a pin in this one for now. To be clear, there are several easygoing Willie appearances during this era. It wasn't all death and bitterness. They would let Willie do shtick and play to the camera. But it's quite evident that this is someone they bring out for a fight. Someone's gonna get knocked out when Willie shows up. Thankfully, Season 20 and the rest of the HD era isn't just a bunch of Willie beatings, episode after episode. These later years were more apt to explore his background and show off more of his skills. So let's take a short break from those beatings and find out what modern Simpsons taught us about this guy. Although previous details of his history have been sketchy and inconsistent, here's where we get his origins in Springfield Elementary and his employment history. According to Willie, he's not originally from Glasgow or Edinburgh, but instead from Kirkwell and Orkney. His father was an Ooper and his mother was a Dooney. These are Scottish things from my understanding. According to Season 20's Lisa the Drama Queen, he was originally William McDougall, but was renamed Groundskeeper Willie at Ellis Island. This didn't stop him from defying his namesake, instead getting hired at the school as swim teacher Willie. However, after a diabolical prank is pulled on Skinner, he gets demoted to Groundskeeper, and the pool is closed forever. Later, he participates in Skinner and Chalmers' scheme to cover up the missing grant money, building and photographing the fake classrooms. He supposedly killed a Welshman at some point, as well as a smart-mouthed playground kid. In Season 32, he tells us about falling for a woman named Lily back in Scotland, who has now traveled to America to torment Homer and Marge's relationship. Willie's love life is generally a chaotic mess during HD Simpsons, which is really saying something for this series. Things start out well in Season 20, where it turns out that his girlfriend actually is a Swedish bikini model. I presume he dumped her in favor of his job. The following year, he's forced to lock lips with Skinner during a skit. This skit lasts several hours, exhausting both of them. I have no idea if Chalmers got what he wanted out of this. In Season 22, we hear that Edna and Chalmers hooked up only after she rebounded from Willie. I guess she decided to try out whatever he's into. He went to a dating seminar, describing himself as someone who gets drunk and kills squirrels for a living. He once romanced lunch lady Doris in a scheme to sabotage an Easter celebration, because he's a Scottish Old Believer Presbyterian and he hates the holiday. In Season 30, everyone allows a con woman to rebound to him, knowing that she'll be disappointed when they find out he's broke. And finally, in Season 35, Willie reunites with Maisie, a former love back in Scotland, and the two of them actually get married. Yeah, that's right, all you lapsed Simpsons fans. They married Groundskeeper Willie off. Back in Scotland, Willie was an expert peat sniffer, working for Maisie's family, and they quickly fell in love. Her family didn't approve, so they were going to elope, but Maisie was manipulated by her family into never showing. The family still secretly disapproves, and is only using Willie for his nose again. However, thanks to his best friend Bart, the family scheme is exposed, and Maisie proves her love by repeatedly breaking his nose. It's a very relatable romance. Oh, and the show did sorta stick to the continuity change, as she appears again playing Scottish Scrabble in Season 37. Wow, Willie really did get the Moe trajectory, getting a serious love interest who we see once every couple years or so. That's modern Simpsons' version of a continuity change. I glossed over it a bit, but Willie and Bart become best friends for this one episode, sharing a bond over pranks. It's kind of a strange duo, because these two have historically had a very contentious relationship. These later years will have a couple good times here or there, like destroying a stump together and when Bart gets him a rabbit, who he will treasure forever. But generally, HD Simpsons continue portraying them as adversaries. Willie's the one dropping off Bart and the bullies for their arduous hike through the Highlands. Willie's coaching Bart's basketball team, but quits due to all the showboating, going back to his love of drowning gophers. Willie conspires to humiliate him, and Bart gets his revenge by shaving off his mustache and gluing a mask to his face. These two do put aside their differences in this one though. Bart inspires both a prank and Willie drinking again. The more interesting development is the Willie and Lisa duo, building on their season 17 team-up. We don't see them interact that much, but Willie becomes a helpful ally in certain Lisa stories in these later years. For example, she discovers he's an apiarist, and he explains to her about the bees dying. Later that same season, he just cannot kill her in the Snow White parody, and probably the best joke of the whole episode. In season 26's Mathlete's Feet, technology takes over the school, and a Roomba becomes Willie's supervisor. Lisa sees his old-school calculation methods, and it inspires her to suggest turning Springfield Elementary into a Waldorf school. Willie teaches the kids math using earthworms in his tractor, and actually connects with the kids. He even becomes the school's math team coach. In the end, Lisa is very disturbed by his sheep hanging story, but compliments him for the great things he did. In other episodes, Willie helps the kids with their various schemes. In season 27, he infiltrates a Knockers restaurant to drill into the basement to find an invention. And he helps Lisa show off their discovery. In season 31, he helps them break into an aquarium to free a whale. Turns out in the summertime, Willie likes working there because the fish don't make fun of him. Also yes, I realize he's helping Bart here too. But come on, they're freeing a whale. Who's really spearheading this operation? Then in other episodes, he's giving her advice on how to deal with lazy parents and offering a sympathetic ear about two boys liking her. He provides a history lesson about Scottish flower thistles, which is helpful somehow. You know, going into this project, I didn't expect to find a Willie and Lisa friendship, but these two work surprisingly well together. Willie's such a salt-of-the-earth guy who loves nature, so the two share a common interest. They're both outsiders among the Springfield Elementary crowd. So the brash, hot-headed Willie ends up being a great character foil for a neurotic thinker like Lisa. Is this the secret to good Lisa scenes? Just surround her with all the fiery characters? Alright, now that that's all complete, let's get back to the Willie beatings. Okay. The HD era is not as bad as the teen era in this respect. They only occasionally kick around Willie. Like in one episode, he gets stampeded by the kids, and they do a whole Titanic homage with his mop. He gets forced into nude modeling after entering to take out the trash. After severe gambling losses, he has to pay rent to the brutal slumlord Ooter. The kids lie to him about playing rugby, leaving him wondering, "Where's me scrum?" His shack gets destroyed again in season 28, as well as his beloved photos. A nicotine-addled Nibbles brutally attacks him. He gets swarmed by hornets, demanding they fight him like a man. Away from the school, he fails auditions for Duffman, Cheech and Chong, and Marge's Jebediah Springfield musical. And in a treehouse of horror, he cuts off his own arms. Honestly though, that's not all that bad by Willie's standards. In fact, these later seasons did give him more opportunities to bite back. He may have cut off his arms in one treehouse, but he has Chalmers between his blades in another. In The Surfsons, he returns to his slave-driving roots, and later insists that the afterlife is like snakes eating your eyes, but it feels good. In less fantastical setups, they give him opportunities to get back at Skinner. Like he tells him, "I guess there are some stones in your leaf bag after all." Skinner got Flanderized to be even more pathetic in these later years, especially post-Edna, so we did get fewer instances of him slapping his Willie around. The biggest problem with these two is that they lost Willie's insulting wordplay. Willie still openly disrespects him, but it'll be stuff like calling him a loser or pathetic to his face. Where are my classic Willie turns of phrase? Willie is supposed to dazzle us with his adverbs and adjectives. I think it's really important that Groundskeeper Willie is written with a lot of personality, because overall, his utilization is extremely narrow in scope. They basically only use Willie for a handful of situations, typically being paired with Principal Skinner, Superintendent Chalmers, Bart, or Lisa. Seeing him with another oddball, like the Sea Captain, is quite refreshing because Willie doesn't get out much. He literally lives at the school. He's not a man of the crowd like Sideshow Mel, or someone who can show up anywhere like Chief Wiggum. He's not friends with Homer, like the Moe's Bar Gang. His relationship tree is extremely small. Honestly, I've always found the ending of Homer Badman kinda weird, and I think this might be why. It's like, "Oh, Willie, what are you doing here? You're not allowed to leave the school." At the beginning, I wondered how much joke variety there is with this guy over the course of 30 plus years. And the answer is not very much. Despite those limitations, I have come to the conclusion that Groundskeeper Willie is basically a god. This guy rules. Yeah, I know he's probably murdered people, but isn't that what gods do anyway? I've really come to appreciate the amount of passion and energy he brings to every single scene. There's nothing passive about him. He's always gonna go out there and do it. He's gonna try to save the wee turtles. I admire his hardworking spirit, that he finds quiet comfort in his blue-collar work and his humble life in his shack. I find myself wishing that the world would give this guy a break once in a while. But unlike other put-upon characters like Squeaky Voice Teen or Sideshow Mel, Willie actually fights back. He stands up for himself, he seeks revenge, he gets drunk and does some stupid shit. In one episode, he'll rush in and save the day like a badass. In another, he's trying to kill you. He's this big, chaotic ball of energy. He's basically the Donald Duck of the series. And who doesn't love Donald Duck? Willie has such a big, boisterous personality that it honestly doesn't matter that he's only used for Springfield Elementary stuff. Springfield Elementary is his kingdom, and I wouldn't dare ask the king to leave his throne. Also, after rewatching that season 35 episode, I kinda want to go to Scotland now. This whole research project, I've been like, wait, do I love Scotland? Because Willie is that dynamic of a character. Look forward to my Scottish travel vlog later because of this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of Groundskeeper Willie and your favorite moments of his. Do you think Willie is a misunderstood genius or a drunken buffoon? Do you have an explanation for why his tractor is spelled W-I-L-L-Y instead of I-E like his name? Did those damn Scots ruin Scotland? I have so many questions. As for the next Simpsons Histories, I'm going to wipe the slate of nominations clean. Willie absolutely dominated the comment section last time. Y'all were thirsty for some Willie. So feel free to nominate whatever wacky Simpsons character you want to see next. Please, a more minor character next time. I watched so many Willie episode appearances that by the end of it, I was developing a Scottish accent. So as always, thanks for watching.